Healing your wounds to approach new members of your child's life is never easy. So we have author Jeanette Schneider in studio with us today on some new approaches to co-parenting. You wrote a book that came out in the fall.
Yes.
And we're talking about, so let's say, and this actually is from your own personal experiences. You got divorced from your children's father.
Yes.
He remarried. Or
He's engaged.
Is engaged, and you have a really good relationship with his new fiance.
I do.
And you say people are fascinated by this.
They are, and I think it's a lot easier than people expect. A lot of times, and I believe because of the society we live in, we're taught to compete with the other women in our children's life, and at work and in all ways. So you have someone come in and loving on your child. It can be a very hard thing. It took me a little while when we first got divorced to get used to the idea that other women were going to love my child.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I realized that my influence over my daughter was going to really build and influence the relationship she had with the women that were going to come into her life.
So how did you go about building a good relationship with the new woman in her life?
I think it goes both ways. Both of us came to the table with a lot of respect and love for Olivia, my daughter. I think of her as having two moms now. I wrote an article recently and Olivia said, let's call her, my two moms. And there's just mutual respect both ways. It's not necessarily a befriending, but making sure that all people are on deck to make sure we're raising the healthiest human being possible. So lots of conversations, lots of group text. She's involved in decision making because she's actively taking a part in my daughter's life.
Was that hard for you?
At first, like I said, the very first 24 hours after I heard my daughter say someone new was painting her nails, I was like, who is this woman? What's happening?
I can understand that as a mom.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where I'm like, I have to make a decision. I have to make a choice today. How am I going to influence my daughter's relationship? I want her to be in a home where she's loved by both other people, not just her dad.
Wow.
And thankfully, the woman that he's with is fantastic. She's amazing.
I feel like in order for this to work, it has to work from both sides, though. So if it's a crazy person or somebody who's not willing to really, be helpful in that sense, it might be kind of hard. But the fact that you have two women, and how are things with your ex-husband? How does he factor into all this, and how does he feel about it all?
I think he's he probably feels blessed in some way because sometimes we just ignore him, and she and I will work out the details. So I think he feels really good about it. They've had a son together, and I love their son. And I think these were things I didn't expect going into this, but it was conscious choices. And like you said, if the other person isn't prepared and strong enough to come to the table with their own kind of respect, not thinking of the previous relationship. We don't talk about our past and our past relationship or the dynamics there. We built new dynamics.
That's amazing. And I wish more people could do that because it can get really nasty, you know, divorces and breakups, and it always affects the kids.
It does.
It really does. So you wrote a book about this. What's the book called?
It's called Lore, Harnessing Your Past to Create Your Future. I talk about co-parenting, healthy messaging for children, how you can create really responsible girl talk and self-talk with your kids. And she and I, his fiance and I, have actually had conversations about how do we make sure that we're both sharing really strong messaging to make sure that she's the strongest, bravest, most smartest child that she can possibly be.
How do you guys not become friends?
Well, it's funny. We actually have gone to coffee a couple of times together, and we're very friendly, and we've helped each other out in certain professional settings. It's not like we go grab wine and go out. But I think it's, there's just such respect there that I like her as a human being.
That's great. That your daughter is very lucky to have both of you and her dad, who's all willing to participate. Well, thank you very much. It sounds interesting. It sounds like something that could really help a lot of people. So go check out the book. One more time, the name?
Lore, Harnessing Your Past to Create Your Future.
There you go. All right. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. We'll be right back. Stay with us.